Greetings, welcome back, friends and family. It's David back again with another movie review. This time talking about Trap, 2024 film by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, in keeping with my last review, I've got kind of a personal story to tell about this film because I always like to get into the details of exactly where I was when I saw the film and what was going on, what was going down. I'm going to start at the very beginning. I saw this uh, back on the 24th of August. It's now the 31st of August, 2024. I saw the 8:30 showing, or no, 7:30 showing, something like that, at the AMC on Schillinger in Mobile, Alabama. And I watched this film after having previously watched uh, The Forge, a very family friendly movie about biblically inspired living and taking responsibility. It's a great story about a young man who's learning to take on responsibility and really get his uh, head screwed on straight, knowing that his whole life is ahead of him. Oh wait, yeah, that's The Forge. Trap is a very different movie, and I was with my family when I watched The Forge, and then later that night I went back to the theater by myself, still in my church clothes, my Sunday suit, to watch Trap. Why did I watch Trap? What am I just a kind of a adventure seeking scamp going off in the movie to the movies alone by myself at night like that? A little bit, yeah. I wanted that experience. I'm like, this movie's not going to be at the theater for much longer. I wanted to see it ever since I first saw the trailer. My mom, my sister, they were kind of disgusted by it, like, what is this, a psycho movie? But I just thought, hey, it's M. Night Shyamalan, and his films are not generally some blood and guts psycho killer when you actually watch it. And this was the same way. This was like that. It was not a uh, even though the antagonist in the film is nicknamed the Butcher. Spoiler alert: nobody dies in this movie, and my sister could barely believe that when I got back from the theater and told her nobody dies in this movie. But there was something that sucked me in when I first saw the trailer. I forget what we were watching where we first saw the trailer a few months back. Was it A Quiet Place, Day One? I think maybe that was it where I first saw the trailer, and I just thought something about this. It's supposed to be a thriller. It's supposed to be kind of an intense, a suspense thriller. But it was M. Night Shyamalan, and I've been kind of hit and miss with M. Night. I haven't seen all of his films, and please pardon me, cinema sin movie transgression. I still have never seen The Sixth Sense. I just haven't yet. I'm gonna watch it one day, but I want to actually watch it. I want to appreciate it when I watch it. For the 100th time, I gotta repeat this in a lot of my reviews. When I see a movie, especially for the first time, I want to really watch it. I want it to go into my brain if I'm accepting it, and I want it to, I want to remember it. Having grown up and had to get a job, I don't have a lot of time like I did when I was younger and didn't have responsibilities. And I don't appreciate the way people treat modern day entertainment, especially in the West, especially in America, that it's all entertainment all the time. No, you want to savor things. I can't stand the idea of watching something on my phone. I've never done that. I might break down and watch a movie or two on my laptop whenever I have a good weekend. Some things that I've missed, maybe Godzilla, that last Godzilla movie. I don't know, but I wanted to see this at the theater because I love seeing things at the theater. Because in that dark theater, seeing it from the beginning to the end, it's just burned in my mind. Like this movie is burned in my all the high points anyway. You never remember every single thing of a movie you only saw once, but you get what I'm saying. And I really appreciate film, and that's why I wanted to see this at the theater, not some later time. Because I admit this would have been a movie that after the fact, if I didn't go on my little adventure by myself to the theater and just watch this in not really a late night showing, but an evening showing, almost late night, I might not have given it the effort to watch it after the fact. I just might not have. I don't know, but it's part of my wanting to go to the movies that got me to see Trap. When we first saw that trailer, and I'm like, Josh Hartnett, he stepped away from Hollywood and acting for a good long while, I think, or at least the movies. I don't know what he's been doing. Maybe he did theater or something, but I'm in a couple movies: Hollywood Homicide, Pearl Harbor, Black Hawk Down. He's been in a bunch of movies, but I haven't. I've only seen him in a few things. And what I saw him in, I liked him, and I just thought to myself, he's older now. His kind of face is aged, a little bit of puff, a little bit of more mature look to him, and he's going to be a killer out there in the public. And at this concert that he's taking his daughter, what in the world? What is this, Josh Hartnett? And there was something about that just sucked me in, and I thought, I want to see this. And again, my sister couldn't believe me when when I got back home. She's looking at me like, nobody dies in the movie. 50 minutes of this movie is just John, or it seems like an hour of the movie is just Josh Hartnett looking all suspicious as they're in the concert. It's underway. He's listening to the music with his daughter, seeing the concert and making corny dad jokes, and you can see he's got one of those relationships where he's trying real hard, but she's in that age bracket where it's like all that's on her mind is this idol in front of her, this musician. It's like, well, singer, not really a musician, and she's on the outs with some of the girls she thought were friends, and so there's some drama between Josh Hartnett's character and the lady who he met twice in the hall, and was just like being so axe murderish, trying to keep it on the low, not getting upset, and just trying to find the logical thing to say and keep things under wraps and be calm and cool and collected with all of his interactions with throughout the whole movie, especially with that lady who it's M. Night Shyamalan all the way. Did you have this kind of dialogue? This woman trying to explain what happened between their daughters or whatever, and then her ended up saying, "You don't want to mess with me. You don't want to cross me, Mister So and So. I'm not someone you want to make an enemy out of. Or you don't want to cross something like that." And I'm just thinking, he's the butcher. Everybody knows he's the butcher. He's a killer. Maybe you don't want to be getting on the bad side of him, but it was kind of a bummer that. Yeah, it is a gripe that I have against the movie that even though it's Josh Hartnett doing his twitchy eye motions and he's living his other life in the bathroom stall of the concert, and he looks on his phone and he's got some guy, I forget his name. Sorry, I forgot his name. I'll find it real quick. Some young guy he kidnapped just for the purpose of using him as his next victim. Um, and he's got it all set up, some chamber where he can, with just the press of a button, have uh, the room filled with carbon monoxide or something that'll choke the guy out and kill him. And it was, I'm like, really? That's how we found out that he's the guy. There's no big reveal. It was like I don't even know if it's the right word to say, a slow burn that that was done that way. But yeah, Josh Hartnett has reached this age, and I'm looking on. This is Rotten Tomatoes, linked from IMDb, where he's looking down at the phone. That's exactly the part of the movie that is on the screen right now, where he's looking down at it. It's like, just checking on his victim, making sure he's still there. He's reached that age where he's in his mid 40s now. He is that perfect. He's that perfect visage for that kind of thing. Clean shaven. He's a fireman. He's well to do as far as the world knows, and he referred to it when he fought at the end as my two lives. The two lives don't cross, and it's. Let me just say this: I enjoyed the flick, but a good 25 to 30% of it, I'll say, was my theater experience of going to the movies at night, even if it was by myself, and watching this movie with other people. I'm glad to say there were other people in the theater watching this with me. I would say 15, 16 people on a Sunday evening showing. And if Deadpool if Deadpool and Wolverine hadn't been the super mega hit, all consuming attention and money summer blockbuster that it has turned out to be, this movie easily would have gotten more attention than probably would have been a big hit, some huge money maker, but it certainly would have gotten more, I believe, than it did. Maybe not a terrible lot more, but without the all consuming cash black hole that Deadpool turned out to be, making $1 billion. That's what it had to compete with. A week after Deadpool's release, this movie came out. Or was it 2 weeks? I think it was just 1 week that it came out. It's like, oh great, it wasn't even number one for a second. It was Deadpool all the way. And yeah, there was some other movie that came out. Can't think of what it was. Whatever. That had to compete, and so it didn't do too well. Let me check its total box office so far. Trap box office. Just by the by, just seeing. Uh, if I can find out what it is. Maybe I've got to ask Google what is Trap box office. As of August 31, 2024, Trap has grossed 39.3 million in the United States, Canada, and 33.2 million in other territories for a worldwide total of 70.4. Was projected to gross 15 to 25 million from 3,100 in its opening weekend. I don't know that it did that. So, all in all, leave it out in the theaters for a few weeks. I guess it made just a little bit of money, but I don't know why I'm even getting into the money of it. It's just I enjoy some of M Night's movies. I just do, and this was one of them. I even defended Old, and my mother, who went to see that and didn't make like she hated it as much as she says she does now. It's evil, and it's stupid. Oh, there's some place in the world where people get old, and the people know they're going to die, and they leave them there because they're evil. I'm like, well, that was part of the plot, and it's only because of the mineral thing that existed in this one cliff on this one beach, and they were testing out medicines highly unethically, immorally, evil, letting people die. But that was she didn't make like she hated it near as much when we first came out of the theater all those couple years ago, whenever it was. Anyway, forget Old. I like Signs. I like The Village. Never saw Lady in the Water or whatever it was. I can't. I couldn't really get into After Earth or whatever it was with Will Smith and his son, and now especially after Will Smith has shown what a butt he is and what a weirdo. I don't even want to watch the movie just because of Will Smith now. And there have been other things. Unbreakable, I think it's called. I never saw that one either. I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it. So whenever one of these movies comes out, uh, I just wanted to just give it a try. I was curious about it, and I said this is probably my last chance. Got to go to work in the morning. This was last Sunday night, so I said, let me just go for it, and I'm glad I did. Nobody dies in this movie that's supposedly about a serial killer, and he is the butcher. He's killed like 12 people. The whole thing, and you see that in the trailer. There must be 300 cops and SWAT, FBI surrounding the building inside and out. Again, an hour of the movie is Josh Hartnett looking all around as every suspicious looking man in the place is gradually taken out by the cops one by one over the course of the concert to be questioned. And slicker than snot, he's made to be like he knows what's up. And this is the most thrilling thing about it, as he's able to listen in to this lady who is the profiler, who is heading, she's like a super psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, who's captured several serial killers. She's heading up this special unit for the FBI. He can hear everything she's telling the cops in the FBI when he steals one of these radios. And you're like, well, this is at least interesting. It's a good plot point. He's a fireman. He's used to being around cops. He just goes in and amongst them. He sneaks by and all this stuff, and he just like you see in the trailer. There's a guy who is selling T-shirts, and he kind of befriends the butcher. Let me get his name right. Josh Hartnett's name in this is uh, Cooper. Haley Mills is Dr. Josephine. His wife is Rachel, played by Allison Thill. The daughter is Riley, played by Ariel Donahue. Lady Raven is played by Salika. Maybe she must be an actual artist who I've just never heard of before or something. She's in the movie, and she's spent enough time with the FBI setting up this the whole concert is a trap trying to catch him. And that is actually that's one of those things that, at least for me, it only sinks in after the fact that is a pretty neat that is a pretty neat thing. Except there's one glaring pothole. Yeah, it's a pothole. It's a plot hole in this movie that it is unfortunately a major gripe against the way M. Night Shyamalan wrote this thing out. Or did he write it? Who wrote this movie? Who wrote the script? Who wrote the? Give me IMDb. This is now streaming. My mother and my sister could easily watch this thing right now. Probably if they paid a few bucks, watched it on the phone, on Roku or whatever, and be like, not a bad movie. Okay, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan wrote it too, directed and written by M. Night Shyamalan. I'll get to this big stinker of a plot hole in just a minute. This big stupid point of the movie that it only seems stupider, more stupid as time goes on. Maybe I missed something that covers this. I don't know. I'd have to watch the movie again. But for now, I'm going to think. I'll get to it in a second. First, let me talk about the T-shirt guy. He befriends Cooper, Josh Hartnett's character, when his daughter wanted a T-shirt, but another girl next to her said, "I was here first, and I've been waiting like forever." These little brats, man, and the T-shirt guy's like, "Oh man, you're such a good parent, and you're in the good values." Look, because Cooper says, "Just let her have it. We'll get another one sometime." And so his daughter's like, "Nah." And his daughter is a little bit of a pill. It's not that she idolizes this singer, and I'll say that she doesn't want to be away from the concert for even a second. As much as she laughs at his dad jokes and all this stuff, it's almost like she's tolerating him. She's that age bracket of young, westernized girl who's all about this the spectacle they've come to watch in this concert. And when he meets up with the guy later, he says, "Oh man, I got that T-shirt. Come with me." He's going back to the supply closet right then or whatever, and that's when Cooper steals his key card for the door so that he can get in and out of these places through doors that are being guarded by the cops and just everybody. And there's this kind of a tense moment where, "Here, hold this, man, but I don't want you to cut yourself." He hands the guy. It's so funny because he's such a jolly, friendly guy, and he likes Cooper, who then he tells that I think that's when Cooper tells that he's a fireman. He's holding a box cutter with like a blade like that long hanging out of it, and everybody in the theater is like, "Oh no, he's gonna kill this guy." Doesn't do a thing. He's just making friendly. He says all these things. He just you as the audience, he's a killer, and it comes off being hilarious. Josh Hartnett is very entertaining as this tensed up Jeffrey Dahmer, whatever you imagine these killers in real life, however they might have acted. And because it's an interesting point, after giving him the T-shirt and he goes back, Josh Hartnett's listening on the radio, and the FBI super psychiatrist lady's telling the cops about how this last man that we just had an incident with, he had several breaking and entering and small charges, and when he saw he had a APB out for him, like he was going to be arrested. He panicked when he saw the police, but he is not our man. Our man will not panic, and that's the maybe one of the most interesting things that you that is cluing you in about what's going on and about what Hartnett's character Cooper is like as he's going through all this stuff and talking to different people. And maybe the best part, as far as all of the funny things that he says, while you know he's the killer, is when he realizes if he can just get backstage, man, if he can just get backstage, he won't have to be vetted because it's gonna out through the radio. They're gonna stop and talk with every man who's been in attendance at this theater, this concert, and he's just trying to avoid that. If he can just get backstage, he believes he can sneak out. And so he talks to the guy, and this is how M. Night Shyamalan sneaks himself into the movie, into the concert. Sorry, he's an usher. He's one of the groupies or whatever, doing selecting people and arranging where people sit and stuff. And Cooper goes up to him and talking to him, and he's been like dancing in place and with all these kids and all these people attending the concert throughout the whole movie. And he's like, "Man, this is insane! Look at this following that she has, Lady what's her face? What is her name again? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Lady Raven. She could start a cult." It's like funny stuff like that he's saying. And he says, "Yeah, my daughter loves her. You see her going crazy over there? She's going crazy even more than the other girls over there, going crazy, like just pointing around." And he's just the way it's the way Josh Hartnett talks. Well, you know he's a mass murderer or a serial killer. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, you know she's my life. She's my world, and she's." And his eyes, the way the way Josh Hartnett darts his eyes around, he's just thinking about what to say to this guy. Here's M. Night Shyamalan's character looking over to the crowd where his daughter is, and there's Hartnett behind him to his right a little bit, going, "Yeah, yeah, recently recovering from leukemia." And he goes into all the struggle that she's had a hard time, and she was barely hanging on, but now she's doing better, and she's been through so much. And of course, M. Night, he's doing his acting. He's like, man, that is just really something. Look, tell me what are your seat numbers where you guys are? So slick and snot. Cooper has managed to get himself and his daughter selected to be. His daughter will be selected to go up on stage with Lady Raven, and you're thinking, really, that you managed to get this done, psycho killer? So they get chosen. And again, so much of the movie seems like it's just Josh Hartnett just looking up at the stands, all the cops everywhere. They'll find the guy and they'll take him out, and like he's being arrested. That happened like 3 or 4 times. And then when some other performers came up out of a hole in the floor that opened up, a machine door opened up, and then he's looking at it. And you're just thinking he wants to bolt and go in there so bad. And you're almost it's the weirdest thing that is achieved in this movie. You haven't seen him kill anybody. You just know in your gut he must be the guy, and he is. You're just almost on the edge of your seat. Not altogether, but they did a good enough job for what this movie is with getting you to, I'm not gonna say root for him, but it's like you're thinking, if I was him, how would I get out of here? This place is locked down. The whole concert is meant to be a trap to catch the butcher. And here it is. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because in the end, he just can't manage to get it done. He ends up cornering Lady Raven when he finally gets an audience with her in her uh, inner dressing room, alone with her for a moment. He's supposed under the auspices of thanking her so much for spending that little bit of time with his daughter and letting her dance on stage with her and stuff. And then he just comes out and says, like, "I know you're looking for me. All of you are. You got me." And again, he does a good job. Josh Hartnett is a good psycho in this movie, in my opinion, that you wouldn't have guessed has hacked people up because of his mental needs. He believes he has to do so. And he shows the guy he's got chained up in the chamber tour, and he explains what he's going to do if she doesn't cooperate, if he doesn't get him out of there in her limousine, which he manages to get her to do. Her, her and him to get out of there without having to go by police inspection. And you're just thinking, what now? Because he's made it. He's like he managed to do this, and he's got his phone, and every now and then he just kind of reminds her like, I'll push it, I'll push it, I don't care, I'll kill him, and it'll be on you, but you can save him. And it's so nuts. He's crazy in this movie. Uh, and because Lady Raven had been, this was weeks in the planning. She spent all this time with this FBI lady, who's got the psychological profile on him so good. She knows about uh, his childhood, how he has a problem that few people will recognize, and it's a very good narration. It lasts about 30 seconds. This is after they get. She plays him pretty good, but the part in the bathroom is like, okay, I'm getting fatigued. This is not how this part would go. It just isn't. It just isn't. Well, let me get there, and then I'll explain my gripe, and you can tell me if you see where I'm coming from or not in the comments of this video. Please tell me, because Lady Raven plays him like by saying to the daughter, "Hey, maybe I can just take you guys home." Cooper said, "You can just drop us off in the corner. We'll be all right. Our car, we're parked nearby." But then she says, "Hey," looking at the daughter, she's playing him by working the daughter, and it's a great scene because he's all uncomfortable with the idea and everything. Like he's had it, he's been made. She's gonna know where he lives because she's offering, "Why don't I just take you home?" Because the daughter, more and more, is getting gassed up, like, "Oh, you come to my home," and she plays on her piano and her home, and it's like, oh, she can't believe it, and it's just crazy that she manages to do that. And then there's Hartnett. He's in he she's in his home. She knows who he is. He knows that she can tell the cops as soon as she's out of there. And it's like, it's it's just kind of wild. It's kind of wild for a movie with no blood spatter at all, that you could go on this psychological journey. But this is the thing that gets me when she at the end of the movie. And again, spoilers, everybody, spoilers. I need to put a big spoiler alert up at the start of this film. I got to remember to do that. Maybe I'll make it as a slide, and I'll say spoiler. I talk about details in this movie. When he gets back to the house and she has gassed his daughter up so bad that she's next to her playing the piano together. She swipes her phone sneakily when his daughter puts it down on the piano bench. And so she's got a phone on her now. And then he's all twitchy and just kind of looking at her. And she plays this song that's one of her more personal songs. And she plays it slowly and thoughtfully and lovingly for his daughter before she's about to leave. And he's like, okay, well, that's over. Time to go. Because he's so twitchy now that he's been made. She bolts for the bathroom and locks him out. This is the part I have a gripe with. She uses social media as soon as she can. She's got a phone. She gets on her social media. She goes and she gets with her people, and she's telling them, look, because of all the stuff that he had told her about where he has his victim stashed, that he'll kill at any moment if she dare gives him away and tells the cops. This is the part that I'm like, my belief. You know how you got to suspend your belief, you got to suspend your imagination to get into the fantasy of the movie. I have just been stressed. My brain has just been. I can't go any further. It was too long. He's beating on the door. His family's going crazy. Like, what are you doing, Dad? Because he had made like he was going to attack her, I guess. And he's like, he's not a real killer the profanity would have been unleashed like the floodgates. He would be banging on that door. Give me my phone. Give me that phone. I'll kill you. I'll kill. But instead, it's all Josh Hartnett, twitchy psycho. In the Trap movie, he's like, Go to your room. Go to your room immediately. Give me that phone." Listen, he's telling them like, "Calm down, calm down." But they're all they've had it. But then it goes all quiet. This must last 2 or 3 minutes. He would have A murderer would have broken that door down and killed her and got the phone, but she's streaming. And in the course of a minute or two, because again, she's this pop singer with millions of fans who are on social media. And so it is kind of a relevant thing for today that she'll have, at least at any given moment, maybe hundreds of thousands of people waiting to hear her next text, her next thoughts about what she ate that morning, or what kind of a bowel movement she had, or where she went the previous day, or who knows what. And there, it's so there actually are people, you can see a text like in a stream just flying up. And so while she's in the bathroom saying, "Look, do any of you know in the Philly area, or whatever, whichever the city is, a building, and outside there's a statue of a broken lion statue," which we haven't seen in the movie up to that point, but then we see it at the end of the film. She has a fan who knows, like, "Oh, I actually live right next to to a building," as they're reading her social media feed and her saying, "Listen, this is not a joke, everybody. This is a life or death situation." And I'm just like, I don't care if he has this thing, the two lives, the murderer and the fireman with the apple pie, nuclear family, American dream. The two lives never meet. The psycho killer, family man who works for the fire department. The two lives never meet. The two lives never meet. He says, "I don't care about that." If he has hacked people up and buried them in different places, he would have broken that door down. And then it goes all quiet. He's she's put out the message. She's done everything she can. Lady Raven. He goes quiet. He stops beating on the door. He stops beating on the door. And then when he opens the door, when he's got the key, or went to get it, his family has stopped yelling at him, and you're thinking, we're about to see something horrible. We're about to see some chopped up wife, daughter, and little son. We're about to see three dead people. He's killed his family. That's the only way he can make them be quiet. How he made them go to another room or whatever. But maybe it's because of the twitchy Josh Hartnett character, Cooper. He doesn't let the psycho killer, he doesn't let him reveal himself completely in front of his family. Maybe he did finally successfully usher them out of the house or into a room or something, and now he's back because the door opens and he's just looking at her. "Give me your phone." All calm and everything. So calm. "Give me your phone. Give me all your phones. We're gonna get out of here." He go get in your limousine. He does this. He does this number. He puts finger right on her shoulder. "My hand can never leave your shoulder at any time. Please don't try to remove my hand from your shoulder." He says something like that. And so they walk that way all the way out to the the car. The door opens up, and she moves in a certain way. He's like, "I'm sensing that you want my hand to not be on your shoulder anymore." Again, I'm not getting it right, but that's basically what he says. "Please don't entertain that thought," or whatever. However he says it, it was good. But so now they're in the car in his garage, and she starts talking to him like she's his mother, because the profiler lady had said, "The kind of evil that lives amongst us, that lives in the butcher, Only the parents would have noticed, but only for a time. And then after that, as he grew up, no one would have understood or have seen what is hiding inside of him. Again, I'm getting the dialogue wrong, but I'm getting close enough. And she starts saying, "You've been a bad boy, a bad, bad boy." Yeah, and getting into his head, right? He's like, "Well, that profiler certainly told you a lot about me, didn't she?" And it's just this thing where I'm telling myself as I'm watching this movie, okay, I've come this long, I've come this far with this. Let's see how much further we got to go. What is going to happen here? It is it's so okay. It is somewhat convoluted. I got to give you that. The people who have wanted to rip this movie apart, even though I enjoyed it, especially as a night flick that I would have missed otherwise, and to see Josh Hartnett as he was a good psycho. I thought he was a good psycho, and the particular kind of a problem that Cooper is supposed to have, it was good. It was good in my estimation. How did they get from okay, they're going along. The family is blocking the driveway, is blocking the thing so they can't get out. And in the end he's whoops, gotta pause this bad boy. Okay, had to talk to a visitor here for a second. Let me get back to this. Okay, this is what happened. I thought, was he arrested twice? No, Cooper was in the limousine with her, and the cops were going to arrest him. And he was able to. That's how it happened. He went back into the house as Lady Raven was with the family, and the family was looking all forlorn, like they just come from a funeral or something. They're blocking the garage so he couldn't leave. Like, Daddy, what's wrong with you? What's happened? He locks them out of the house. The place is swarming with SWAT and stuff. He's a fireman. He's got the same uniforms and stuff they do. Did they say? Wait a second. I got to recant. I got to recant. I got to retract everything. There was a spot. You know what? I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I think somebody did die in this movie, technically, in the story, because when all of a sudden you realize he is in SWAT gear, and he is driving Lady Raven in her limousine away from the thing, and that's how he's escaping away from his own house now that he's been found out. I think somebody says over the radio, we have somebody down in the backyard. I can't remember if it was the limo driver, her actual driver, or maybe a police officer or SWAT guy. You don't see anything. It's just something that happens over the radio. So I got to admit, hey, maybe somebody did die in this movie, even though you don't see anything because PG-13 or whatever. Then when he reveals himself and he has handcuffed her to the bar side of her own limousine, she breaks free next to a bunch of paparazzi after more mind games and talking with her and stuff. And did he make like he was going to kill her, or was he just trying to get away? I can't remember that part. But when he is again surrounded by the police and everything, and they're telling him, "Get the people away! Get the people away!" He's already snuck out of the car, out of SWAT gear again, looking like a hobo. He snuck through the crowd. They shot an empty dummy, just empty gear, thinking it was him. And you're thinking, oh, well, that's the end of Cooper. They got the butcher. No. He goes back to his house. And now it's time for some M. Night Shyamalan thriller movie, suspense, psychological dialogue time where it seems like for 10 minutes he's talking with his wife. He scares the mess out of her. When he's back in the house, she gets him to eat something, and you're thinking to yourself, she's trying to appeal to this life and not that life. She gets him to eat the pie, and he's like, this doesn't change anything. Again, the kind of psycho that Cooper is, the two lives never meet. That's the only thing that can justify so much of this odd behavior, because he's been so twitchy and quirky, twitchy and just shifty eyes the whole movie. He's just an odd fellow. He's just like when you hear about the psycho killers in real life. He was such a calm man, and he gave you the shirt off his back. He was so quiet and kept to himself. That's exactly what this guy is. As he realizes when he's finished eating, and again, the psychological dialogue stuff with him talking to his wife is what gets me now, because it was her who contacted the FBI because of some receipt. I can't even remember all that stuff now, but it all had to do with the receipt. This is the thing. All this stuff at the concert about not knowing who he is. If she's the one who had gone to the authorities, they would know what he looked like. Please help me, folks. If I'm getting this wrong, if there's some plot point to do with the receipt, to do with his wife and her suspicions of something that might be going on with her husband, and her contacting the authorities slash FBI, how it all got started, that they would rig up the trap at the concert to begin with. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just thinking, if she went, if it's all on her, then they would know what the butcher or what the suspect looks like. They would know what Cooper looks like. They would be after Cooper. But the whole thing, you can see the contrivance just doesn't hold up. Again, please tell me in the comments of this video, whether on YouTube or rumble.com, please explain it away, and I will be glad to accept it. But I'm just thinking, if she's the one who went to the cops, she'll give him a photo or social media, whatever. They're going to know what he looks like. It's like, then they, that's one thing I forgot to mention. You see this old woman appearing before his eyes a time or two, and this is after he had just casually knocked somebody down a flight of stairs and just casually put a couple of combustible jars of aerosol, whatever, in a grease fire that blew up, so that some chaos would be going on in the place to satisfy his need to cause a ruckus and sneak on by and have other eyes on things not on him. This old woman kept looking at him. That was a figment of his imagination. It was his mother, and in the end, you see her in the darkened house. She's at the story in the doorway of his house, going out. She's facing in, and he's still just talking with his wife. He's talking about everything, and he's talking about his childhood and his issues, and the dialogue is very M. Night Shyamalan. I would need to read. I would want to read it at this point. Not even watch the movie. I would want to read the script to go back and know everything that was said. There are 4 cops standing all around. You're thinking, what is this? Is this one of his brute strength characters from one of his movies? He knocks one of the SWAT guys down, and he like gouging his eyes out with his thumbs. But then he gets tased 3 or 4 times. Oh, and Josh Hartnett's kind of a tall guy. You get to see him all stretched out, and then he collapses. And again, another contrivance. He's not dead, but they arrest him, almost incapacitated, like a lumbering giant going out the place. It's over. He's under arrest. They let his daughter run up to him to give him a hug goodbye. That's problematic. That wouldn't happen in real life. And so is this. Because he's got COPD, just he can't stand to see the bicycle just fall over. It's nighttime. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Maybe midnight by now. But he's got to stop. It's like, what are you doing? Like the cops. They would shove him in the back of that police van as quickly as they could, safely, considering he's killed people, and maybe he might make a sudden move on him. I don't know that in real life police, and especially armored SWAT, would allow him to, for his mental problem, pick up the bike and his child's bike, kickstand, and gently put it put it back up so that it's not falling over. But they did, and it takes like 20 seconds for him to do it. You realize why in a second. Then he's going along with them. The van's right here. They put him in the back. He's like, shut the door. FBI. I think the FBI psychological profiler lady has some more dialogue. She has good dialogue throughout the concert. The thing she says over the radio, it keeps you going, it keeps you guessing, and then at some instances not really guessing at all. Like I know exactly what's going to happen here. But then at other times, she provides like the narration of his of what's going on with him, but she's not talking anymore at the very end because he's been arrested. Her job is done. It's such a good ending. Have like a slow pan of the house and everything's over. The police are gone. His family are forever scarred by the events. They've lost their husband. They've lost their father. They shut the door, and her narration ends, and it's just crazy. Psycho Josh Hartnett just kind of wobbling back and forth in the paddy wagon or whatever the police van meant for one psycho or however many people. He got him in leg irons, and he's got something in his hand. You realize, and he starts picking the locks, and he picks the locks, and it does a slow motion. It returns to the house. No, this happened first. Sorry, pan the house, zoom in on the bicycle that he picked up, and when it was on its side and stood it up, and you realize as you're zooming in, one of the little support beams, I forget what it's called, in the wheel of a bicycle, but you see them. There's a couple dozen of these things, little metal bands that stretch from the center to the edge of the wheel. One of them's missing. One of them's obviously missing. The more you get closer to it, you're like, something's out of place here. Something's missing. He's got the thing, and he's picking his locks. And the film ends with Josh Hartnett just picking the locks until he's like completely free, and he's just still picking his like. It's this crazy psycho laugh with some nice music, and not crazy for feeling, not that song, and not some heavy rock, just something that just ends on exactly that note, like the psychological trip you just went on with Cooper, the murderer, who he's free again. He's still in the police wagon, but he has killed people, and they don't know that his hands and legs are free. So that's how it ends. That's how the movie ends, and you just think, oh my goodness. I came to watch this crazy movie, and I got to drive 50 minutes to get back home at night. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film. For me, this was one of the M. Night Shyamalan films that I give a thumbs up to. And I just, it was just quite a trip. Again, please tell me, maybe, and however contrived it might seem, if it is technically possible, with whatever they said in the movie that I missed, because it is an M. Night Shyamalan film, and a lot of things are said, and if you miss one thing of dialogue, you're going to miss the explanation for why said MacGuffin or whatever was actually possible. I don't care how convoluted it is. If it is technically possible that with whatever they said in the movie that I must have missed, that they really didn't know who he was, please tell me. Please tell me in the down on the description of this video, and you would be doing a great movie lover service to me and a favor. And I'd appreciate you very much for telling me how in the world did they not know who he was when it's his wife who went to the authorities, growing suspicious of him and his behavior. Anyway, I'd love to keep going with this because, like I said, I like the film. It was a fun thing for me to do last Sunday night. Decent enough of a thriller without any blood or guts. My mother and my sister couldn't believe that nobody's stabbed to death. Nothing like that happens in this movie. nothing. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it, and hopefully you enjoyed this review, my review of Trap. And yeah, see you next time, folks. Thank you so much for listening to me, and see you in the next review. Take care. How do I pause? Anyway, I'll cut this out. Come in. Making a recording here. You didn't hear me talking?
Oh, I didn't hear you. I just want to say, this is a short of Ben talking about the Kamala and her interview. This person says, he knows Kamala and Lawrence. I'm amazed that in a pre-taped, pre-vetted softball interview where the guest had to bring her emotional support animal, CNN only managed to get 16 minutes of semi-usable responses, most of which was trash. That little thing about had to bring her emotional support animal.
That's
I'm
going.
like,
That's going around.
why are they doing these interviews together? I was telling uh, I said they interviewed each other, didn't they? I was like, it's so retarded.
It's going to be back to what they used to say about Bush and Cheney.
Huh?
You know what they used to say about Bush and Cheney way back when, right?
What's that?
I think it was Robin Williams. He put it into his stand up like, y'all pay attention. Bush doesn't say a word while Cheney is drinking water. Check that out. That's the way they're going to be.
Well, I started to hear about Nolan's aunt. Diane, used to work with she's in control. Like today I saw, I was telling you what, or yesterday, when did we go? Uh, where are we about now? And I said, oh, this Captain Bernhardt. Well, Captain Smith, maybe think what you said, maybe think Captain Smith, he was talking about one of the captains that was walking around behind the superintendent. And he said, he is walking so close behind him, like he's trying to suck up her. He says that if Superintendent King was to like stop, he said all you would see was his feet poking out of King's butt. He's like, he's so far up his butt. I said, that's terrible. Of course, Billy wasn't crazy about King because King had told him one time, he's a captain, right? So he's like the highest rank other than warden, and then superintendent so well, the wardens. He says, yes, I was told by him that I didn't smile enough. So he took to wearing this. He's got his captain's uniform on, like when I have my lieutenant.
Yeah.
The same way. He took to wearing a smiley sticker on it to remind himself. Who tells people? It's like that. These retards that do that. That's like the one that told Vance, "You need to smile more." And I'm like,
Who?
I'm a serious person. I'm
What?
an
What?
idiot.
What? What? Oh, JD Vance. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna finish this.